When the US stock market crashes, it is inevitable that the little pinks of the Chinese Communist Party will sing the tune of East rises, West falls. However, there is one thing everyone should be clear about. Modern social economies are driven by consumption. Consumption in China accounts for only 38% of China's GDP, whereas in the US, consumption accounts for 70% of its GDP. In other words, China's economy is certainly not much better off. At the very least, China's export sector will no longer exist, and the jobs driven by exports, along with the upstream and downstream industries, will also vanish. On August 3rd, the State Council of China issued opinions on promoting service consumption and high-quality development, referred to as the 20 measures. These measures urge local governments to tap into the potential of three basic consumption areas: food, lodging, and household services, elderly care, and childcare. They also aim to stimulate 5 improved consumption areas: culture, entertainment, tourism, sports, education, and residential services, while expanding 3 new consumption areas: digitalization, green initiatives, and healthcare. This document, which seems well organized, divides consumption into basic, improved, and new categories. The document, issued on July 29th, also calls for support in areas such as esports, social e-commerce, and live e-commerce. In reality, esports are competitive video games, while social and live e-commerce refer to things like selling goods through live streams. Some may find certain terms in this State Council document jarring, such as education, e-commerce, and live stream selling. These are sectors that Xi Jinping had previously cracked down on. Now it seems Xi Jinping may have regrets. The next news is about Bangladesh, one of the least developed countries in South Asia, rarely making headlines in global media. On August 5th, the dictator of Bangladesh, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, fled the country. After resigning, she went into exile abroad, reportedly to India, with possible plans to move to the UK in 2 weeks. Just a few days prior, Hasina had met with Xi Jinping in Beijing. Hasina, the daughter of the founding father of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, is an authentic second red generation figure. However, she has now lost power. Xi Jinping might feel saddened by this, as his dictatorial friends are either dying or losing power. Connecting this to the election in Venezuela, it seems that Xi Jinping's dictatorial allies worldwide are being overthrown by their own people. It's all covered in today's Decoding China news. Please like and subscribe to help us to improve this channel. Economic policy reversal. Has Xi regretted? The current economic situation in China is very dire, a fact that everyone can feel without needing to be told. China's economic growth rate has slowed to its worst in the past 5 quarters. In this context, on August 3rd, the State Council of China issued 20 measures to promote consumption, urging local governments to leverage the consumption potential of 11 sectors such as cultural tourism, education and training, e-commerce, and live stream selling. These are all industries that Xi Jinping had previously cracked down on. Therefore, when the State Council of China issued these guidelines, we can almost be certain that Xi Jinping regrets his past actions. He has realized that his previous actions have caused serious problems for China's economy. On August 4th, independent commentator Kai Shen-kun shared an article by his friend titled "The Butterfly Dream of Bian Cheng," reflecting on his experiences after returning to China. This friend, named Bian Cheng, had returned to Guangzhou for about half a month. He mentioned that he attended nearly 20 gatherings, meeting different people almost every day. He said his friends include senior leaders in the system, university deans, executives of large companies and media, and chairpersons of major firms. All of them are dissatisfied with the current situation and have no confidence in the future. Bian Cheng's article also noted that when he returned last March, people still had some hope for the future. But this year, everyone is deflated, living just to wait for death, with a serious, lying flat attitude. Many people asked Bian Cheng about the path to emigrating abroad, as they are both physically and mentally exhausted from living in China. The primary reason for the current economic situation in China is that people have lost faith, which is the biggest issue. Therefore, the economic problems in China today are mainly caused by Xi Jinping. It is not just a few industries, but the loss of faith among the Chinese people. This is the most significant issue. As long as Xi Jinping remains in power, the confidence of the Chinese people will not be restored. Bangladesh protesters cheer as PM Hasina resigned. Last weekend, the Supreme Court of Bangladesh ordered a significant reduction in civil service quotas. Students organized protests calling for a halt to the cuts, and after a week of demonstrations, nearly 300 people had been killed. Among them was a hero who died bravely. When the police ordered the crowd to disperse, he not only refused to leave, but raised both his hands. This man was named Abu Saeed. As others retreated, he stood with his arms outstretched, facing the police's guns, and was ultimately shot. He became the first martyr of this protest. His sacrifice inspired more and more Bangladeshis to take to the streets. To honor him, students named the intersection where he died Abu Saeed Road. This event occurred on July 16th. In the 2 weeks that followed, student protests continued to erupt. The primary cause of these protests is the civil service quota system in Bangladesh, which prioritizes those who participated in the country's independence war and their families. Currently, university students in Bangladesh face a very high unemployment rate, and they consider this preferential treatment extremely unfair. Therefore, they took to the streets to protest. Of course, Bangladesh is nominally a democratic country, but in reality, their prime minister is still quite dictatorial and corrupt. The country fundamentally operates on connections and bribery. Thus, the main reason for the country's poverty is the lack of a fair competitive mechanism. When there is no fair competition, people will ask themselves why they should try their best when relying on connections or bribery is sufficient. In this context, truly talented individuals have no opportunity to rise in society. Due to corruption, the military and police in Bangladesh also submit to the dictator. When protests occur, the dictator orders the military and police to suppress them. In the past, the military often cooperated, but this time, the military declared a neutral stance. They stated that they were only willing to help the government maintain social order and did not want to oppress the people. Consequently, when suppression was not possible, the situation changed. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, seeing the dire situation, resigned on Monday and fled to India for asylum. The chief of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, General Zaman, made a televised national address announcing Hasina's resignation and stating that a temporary government would be established. The people of Bangladesh climbed onto the statue of the founder, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, intending to pull it down and destroy it. This signifies that the image of Bangladesh's founding father has collapsed in the hearts of the people, and his daughter, Hasina, has also fled. In July, Hasina visited Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping. They met on July 10th, and Hasina stayed in Beijing for 4 days before returning to Bangladesh. Shortly after her return, protests erupted. 2 weeks later, on July 30th, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed satisfaction that Bangladesh had managed to control the situation. But a week later, the situation changed rapidly and Hasina fled. We want to connect the current events in Bangladesh and Venezuela. We know that Venezuela held its election on July 28. In reality, the incumbent president, Maduro, only received 30% of the votes, while the opposition leader, González, received 67% of the votes. Therefore, Maduro clearly lost, and this proportion matches the exit poll results. It is evident that Maduro lost and González won. However, Maduro manipulated the election and declared himself the winner with 51% of the votes, leading to public opposition in Venezuela. Currently, opposition leader and newly elected President González has published a letter to the people and the military of Venezuela. He reaffirmed his victory and urged the military and police not to side with Maduro, but to acknowledge the election results. Therefore, the situation in Venezuela now depends on which side the military takes. If they can remain calm and neutral like the military in Bangladesh, Maduro's rule will also come to an end. The situations in Venezuela and Bangladesh provide a valuable reference for the people of China. If they want to end the rule of the Beijing government in the future, the Chinese people need to win over the military and persuade the police to stop oppressing the populace. Please leave your comments below to let us know your view. If you find this video useful, please support us with a subscribe, a like, and a comment to help us improve this channel. We sincerely thank you and look forward to seeing you in the next commentary.